Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing okay. The evening bulletin for the 6th of the 6th, 2022 for the Quasidb customers. Risk calculation. So we are still risk on the big picture. The 24-hour difference hasn't really made too much of an impact to the big picture. S&P didn't really help because what's going on with the S&P is that they're actually net long, and so that hasn't really helped the situation, but it's quite minor, and the VIX is being crushed steadily over time. They've gone really long Euro USD and gold USD as well, XAU. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it might be because Europe were on holiday and lots of people at home, maybe a bit bored, maybe they've got extra funds and they just decided to trade those two instruments. Very strange, very strong moves on Monday. So I'm not entirely sure why. I think it could be that the fact that they're sitting at home and they just want to make a little bit of extra cash on the side, and so they decided to buy these two. And of course, if they do that, then it's going to punish them. So there's gold there, really moved, and the Euro bubble is in the strong sell section with Swiss and Kiwi and yen. So yen is very problematic because it will only come down until these guys get wiped out, and I don't think they're gonna hold on. I think that's what they're gonna do, and it's gonna continue higher. XXX yen, cross yen, will continue high, and then eventually have to blow more accounts up. So it's back in the day, 5 years ago, it wouldn't have done this, but I think what's happening is that the retail ape mindset of it's kind of sunk in into their sort of conscious mind with their trading, and they think, well, I'll hold on and it will come down, right? It has to eventually, but if enough people think that, it's not going to budge, and it's going to make them worse for themselves. So we see it on the yen bubble. I can't believe how long it stayed up there now. It's been about 2 months. So like I say, back in the day, we would have gone up, they would have got stopped out, and then it would have come down, and it would have done this nice cyclical up and down fashion, but it's staying up there because they're holding on to that bias. So it's going to continue to punish them, and that's how it works. So really horrible if you're trading this. I'm just glad I'm not trading the yen right now. I'd want that to come down before, I'd want it to cross 50%, and then we'd know that these guys finally got blown up. And it's kind of sort of sucks to be them, to be honest with you. So not gold, pound is interesting because we've got the no confidence vote, and yet they've tried to short it, and by shorting it, it's you can see the bulb was large, and a large bulb indicates good performance on the day. So they shorted it in anticipation of a no confidence vote going through. But whether or not they're going to be successful, we don't know. But we know on an intraday basis, pounds perform well because they shorted it. Remember, we should be seeing large bubbles over here and small bubbles over here. So this is a good day for the sentiment. Aussie might creep over, so we have to be careful with the Aussie because we've got RBA tonight. We've got -7 SSI, which tells us that there's 7 people attempting to short risk versus the 1 person buying. So they are trapped, but we probably want a little bit more negative. And like I said, the S&P isn't really helping because they're net long on the US 500. And just talked about the pound. So whether or not they're going to get paid, we don't really know for sure. Probability speaking, they shouldn't, but it happens. So we'll have to wait and see what happens to the pound. We don't know whether or not whether or not he'll prevail, and he will be our prime minister tomorrow. We don't really know for 100% probability. So this is a bit of a gamble. Likely he's going to stay, but who's going to take over? I can't think of anyone who's going to take over. So dollar strength, so that would agree with this, it being in the strong buy section. So the USD and CAD are in the strong buy section, you see, and there's the USD strength. And H4, well, we've got yen weakness all across the board there, which is quite scary. And H4 is a little bit mixed. So the big battle, pound, CAD and USD, those three. So yeah, it's quite tricky to say. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Quite a lot of movement for Monday actually. And USD has been strong on the COT data, and it has been strong for ages and ages, so that would make sense from a COT data perspective. And the herd went long on Euro USD, so that will certainly help lift the Dixie, because the Dixie is Euro weighted. So if they continue to long Euro USD, then we're going to continue to fall. And there's the sell on the Euro, and there's the S&P, so they're net long, so it's not really helping the situation. They're really short FTSE and DAX and the CAC and the Dow, but just the S&P. So once that gets budged and we come over, then it's going to really help our risk calculation. So eye on the S&P, and that brings us to S&P sentiment here. So we'd want that to come down. We need the sentiment to come down. So the only way it is going to come down is if price falls, and then it'll convince them that we're going to fall, and then they'll sell it. And so we kind of wanted this diagonal break. That's fine. And if they try and buy this dip, then unfortunately we're going to come down, and it'll be quite heavy because it'll be like a shakeout. So hopefully that makes sense. We'd want the price to come down, and then you'd want to look to buy the dip only once the sentiment has crossed 50%. Currently we're 54%, so a little bit late away from crossing 50%, but we're kind of close. And it looks like they are going to go long. If they go long against the 21 moving average, will fall. And then hopefully when it falls, they won't try and buy the dip, they'll try and sell the rip, right? Gold, so that was a big success for today. That was great. That moved a lot on the bubble, like I said up there, earlier on. And there's the sell signal there for gold. You see the crossover? And the US yields have spiked a lot. So it's seen a bit of flattening there, and we might have an inversion again on the 5 and the 10. These are spiking a hell of a lot, and it's a little bit of a cause for concern because there's a flight to safety, and we've got that QT thing going on as well. So maybe they're anticipating a little bit of a risk-off scenario here, maybe. 4,100 probably wouldn't do it. It'll probably be a 4,000, and then that will just be like cementing, the idea that we are going to fall, and then hopefully these guys will get flushed at 4,000 break. 4,100 might do it, but we're talking about retail apes. We have to really punish them hard. So maybe this is forecasting a little bit of a sell-off in the S&P on the US 500, and so yeah. It's a little bit of a cause of concern. So the largest move of the Euro USD, and that was a 7% shift. So we covered that in the Telegram, and there's the Euro, there's the dollar. So we didn't get any signals today because we have to remember it has to adhere to technical criteria. So even though that might be a sentimental, we need to have this technical trigger to say yeah, go or no go, and that's why we didn't get any signals today. We've got the sentimental bias, but we need the technical bias as well, which is fine. It's fine. I don't mind not having a signal. It's better to have technical checks in place. That big bar there is EJ, and it's the location below at 139.25, 7.72 in size. It's huge. So I don't know how safe that's going to be. And yeah, it's difficult to say. I mean, we really should be coming down to take that liquidity and then bounce. Pound is strongest and gold is weakest, and like I said, no confidence vote, and the herd have essentially bet on pound falling, as we can see in the location. However, whether or not they're going to be right, we'll have to wait and see. No signals, absolutely fine with that. That's perfectly fine. We might get some tomorrow, we don't know for sure. We might not do. It all depends on the technical and the sentiment. So, and the calendar is the same as last night because we didn't really have anything on today, and so tomorrow is fairly busy with the RBA tonight. Yeah, it's at 5:30. So you'd have to wake up very early for that, or stay awake, depending where you are in the world, of course. And pound might be a bit of a mover as well. And keep an eye on that US data. So keep calm and trade safely, and that's me over and out. and I'll speak to you guys tomorrow morning, and have a good night.